appears. Welcome to my living room. I love the intimate setting of this place, and it's great that we're here and not on the huge stage up there, because ideally this will not be just a one-way panel where we talk about things, but please do feel free to come in with questions and contributions if you see a point, if you recognize yourself or your situation in the subject. My name is Markus Linde. I'm a music supervisor and agent from Hamburg in Germany. That is my day job. I work in the sync field. I do advertising campaigns. I work for television. I do music consulting for 2 major TV shows at the moment. And I do a lot of rights clearances, rights researches and stuff. That is one hat that I'm wearing, but not today. Today my hat is that of a project called Europe in Sync, which was created some 6 years ago on a music conference, another small music conference in Portugal. It's a project where we, in a nutshell, where we bring to music conferences people from the audiovisual industries, so people from advertising, people from film and television, and also since recently people from the gaming industry, to come into workshops and to meet music people, mostly for the first time. And then we lock the doors, and as some people here will attest to, we take some 5 or 6 hours for mutual introductions and get to know each other and learn about the respective other side. And there's the competition outside going on for the panel. And we learn about the other side, and usually people who attend those sessions take home new realizations, take home motivation, inspiration, and we get some great feedback, sometimes even after a while, when we see that we have made a difference with what we've done. Before I introduce the 2 guests on the panel, I would like to ask you who you are. So who is from the country, from North Macedonia, here in the room? 2 of you? Who is your artist, your label, your publishers? Artist as well. What are the other doing? Publishers? Artists as well? Artists as well, but okay. Music supervisor, I know, and conference designer. So we have quite a mixed bag of people. We also have a mixed bag of people here on stage, which I'm really happy about. Mansa Ogrin from Slovenia. We've known each other for 3 years now. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Mansa. I come from Slovenia, Ljubljana. I work for Music Information Center. Prior to this job, I used to work in a student club organizing concerts. Then I moved to Prague, where I used to work for a music library. And then after that experience, I came back to Slovenia to work for the Music Information Center. I'm really glad to be also a part of a European Sync project. We do a lot of things together, but maybe I will talk about the activities we do at the project a little bit later.
Yeah, thank you. Emil, I met you in Slovenia for the first time some 4 years ago.
Yeah, 2020.
2020.
We did a workshop together.
Yeah, he was one of the victims of the workshop, of the 5-hour session. But I'm glad you confirmed to be on this session, because you're an expert for the local music landscape. And although the abstract of this session says we are going to have a look at the Balkan music landscape, I think when we're here, it's most important to speak about the local landscape. There is, of course, there's overlapping subjects with in Sync. Sync is a global thing anyway, but it's so much dictated and influenced by the local situation that I think it's only fair to have like an expert for this local situation here with us. So if you would like to introduce yourself, Emil.
thank you. First of all, welcome as a host. Welcome to Skopje.
Thank you.
It is great to see you again, and it was great to introduce, to meet Mansa for the first time. Happy to do these sync panels because, as you said, I don't consider myself an expert, but I work in the sync field. Unfortunately, I don't believe that there is such thing as a Balkans sync landscape or a Macedonian sync landscape. Sync is a global thing by itself, but even worse, the Balkan area is not quite known for sync. We'll delve into the specifics of it later.
Yeah.
So I'm Emil Hadjipanzov. I run a sync agency and a music label. I also worked as a promoter, as a journalist, as a magazine owner, a radio host. I also produce my own music, so I have been working with music for my whole life, even though I'm an IT expert according to my education. I finished in IT university, but I never worked in the IT field because music was always my first love. So as an introduction, I think it would be enough, so let's not waste valuable time and let's go with the topics.
Yeah, well, it's interesting usually when we have a panel about sync, the many preconceptions that people have about sync. Usually the first impression that comes up is that we see sync in our day-to-day world every time. Like there's no commercial without music, there's hardly a film without music. In television you see it in the magazines as well as in the film. So we usually see the results of sync. Sync is the matching of music with moving pictures in the widest sense. When we talk about sync in the professional way, in the business way, there's two ways of looking at it, and especially when we do a panel like this. One is the process itself. How does music get into the picture? And it's a whole range of different elements that come together. It starts with the creation of a work. It starts with the rights, with the administration of rights. There's a creative process parallel on the other side with the audiovisual media. And all these things have to come together to, in the end, come to a placement. This is one thing to look at sync. The other one is to look at we mentioned it earlier, the sync landscape. And the sync landscape is extremely wide. As I said, we have the audiovisual disciplines, the sectors, film and television, advertising, and the gaming sector is becoming more and more important. Sync can only work with knowledge about these sectors, and this sync landscape in the different countries, the different territories, as we say, they are very different to each other. And I would like to have a closer look at the local sync landscape. And we had a chat before, and I cannot say I had my pink glasses on before, but you painted quite a realistic picture of the local landscape, if we can call it this. So I would really like to start with that part and have a look at North Macedonia. About the music side, is there what we could call a label landscape, a publishing landscape, a music scene or several music scenes? Can you give us a little introduction into that side?
Yeah, we started with the toughest question, I guess. So I have a blessing or a curse to be involved in various different aspects of music. Because I am a composer, I'm a producer, I'm a sync agent. I also have a label, and sometimes I work as a music supervisor when someone hires me. So I can understand all the difficulties and all the things that happen in the background. As far as the local scene, I'm not sure there is a sync scene in Macedonia. There is a music scene. There are hundreds, if not thousands, very talented musicians, composers, producers. But unfortunately, from the sync perspective, pink glasses are the last thing that comes to mind. You know? There, as we spoke earlier, there are objective and subjective reasons for that. If we look, if we start with what is sync, the short answer would be synchronization of music with some sort of a visual product or game or something else. But in the background, there are many different things happening, and unfortunately, it is clashing of various different bubbles. The film bubble, the TV bubble, the advertising bubble, the games bubble, and the music bubble. And sometimes those clashes don't result in a perfect collaboration, especially in the Balkans, where we still have problems that were solved in the Western countries for probably a century. We still have.
You mean that especially looking at the music bubble at this point?
Because we heard on the panel yesterday, we don't have the rights sorted out as they should be. They were all speaking in gloves yesterday, but I think that the reality is something very different, and that's why many of our composers are registering with foreign PROs. In hope that if they play a song in a project, they would connect their royalties much easier, or they would collect them at all. I don't want to point fingers, but we all know the reality. So from the other problems, objective or subjective, whatever, in Macedonia and in most of the Eastern European countries, most of the advertising agencies don't have a music supervisor in their team, even though some of them employ 150 or 200 people, which is insulting. And they do it because they don't care, or they are not educated, or they simply think that it is music, it is like football and politics, everyone knows everything about music, so they will sort it out themselves. And it's not like that in reality.
Well, I can assure you that this is not a Balkan problem, but this is this is happening all over the place. One of the most difficult parts is to explain the importance and the value of music to the people who use music in the first place, and to get into a dialogue. But to come back to the question a little bit deeper, is there a basic awareness of sync as an opportunity in the music landscape? Would be like every half-decent professional musician be aware of the possibilities of sync, of the requirements of sync, or is this something that people may have heard about, but there's much more important issues to take care of, like the live sector or something?
It's probably on the individual basis, because there are some artists, producers, composers who are very switched on, very in touch with reality, who are working usually with foreign companies, because there are not many sync agencies here. In fact, I think ours is the only one. For example, we were lucky to have GYST from Fulton here. They are taking things very seriously. They know everything about sync. They know what does it mean for a band to place a song.
An artist, and you are organizing these things from on your own professional terms. Okay.
And they also have a great group called Fulton, and we released their whole catalog, and we are representing from Sync. So it is very easy to work in Sync when you are working with people who understand the process, who understand the rights, who understand who is supposed to do what. And it is their case, but their case is one of the rare ones. I think that artists in the Balkan region should be more educated, and I'm happy that there is European Sync to help with this process of educating. And it doesn't end with the artists. I think that even advertising agencies, film producers, directors, they all need to learn something more about Sync, because when we got approached by film directors or film producers or advertising agencies, they're usually trying to cut corners, or they usually arrive at the very last moment when everything is burning and they're asking you to put out the fire. And even then, they are disrespectful to the rights.
Yeah.
And they're trying to cut corners and, if possible, to get the music for free.
Yeah, that of course is absolutely a major problem. I would like to take a little comparison to what you said to the Slovenian landscape, because as you said, education is important, and to have a look at the landscape, and for artists to maybe have support and a first institution to talk to. Sigic has been one of those institutions for quite a few years. How long have you been around? Like 10 years or so? Altogether?
2004 is that Sigic was
20 years. It's officially called a music information center, but you don't give out leaflets and that's it. You work very hands-on, and when it comes to Synch, you are a great help in creating like some kind of structure, like giving artists an awareness of structure that is necessary in that field. Could you describe the work of Sigic in that field? Like, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
In a day-to-day basis, we are like mostly the information center, which means like we gather information, but then if like a musician or an artist like comes to us, we share this information with them, and also we organize workshops and for example, like we call it music business sessions, and like young people can come and learn about different types of music businesses, also different professions. But when it comes to Synch, for example, we co-produce the MENT conference, the Showcase Festival of Ljubljana, and we do different workshops. We started with you basically, and with 2020, if I remember correctly, because I came to Sigic 3 years ago, so I was not attending the first workshop. But then we started also to go deeper each year. So first year was a workshop for all different advertising, film, and also artists that connected, and they also shared knowledge. We try to connect the people from different professions to meet each other for the first time and realize, oh look, we actually work in a similar fields, we could help each other. So of course, please add if I'm missing something, because you were present at all of
quite
this
a lot, yeah.
process. But we started also thinking about, okay, we have to educate young people, and we have to connect the sectors, for example, the students from movie schools and the students from the Academy for Music, to actually connect them and try to do projects together. Then we did like an open call also for advertising. There was was a workshop. We had I think 4 briefs, advertising briefs, and the musicians could apply and then send their music that they thought was appropriate for that brief. And we had people in the we had 4 professions on us, I think, that assessed all those briefs and the music that was sent in, and then we had a live session giving feedback to those artists, what could they do better, which was really appropriate. Then we also had quite a cool turnout, because one of the advertising companies decided to give an award for the most appropriate brief that was and the music that was combined together. I think that was a great learning experience for everybody involved, also for me, that I was from the professional side, because we saw all these different musicians and different songs that were applied, and then all these little details. That's why we have this panel of getting your shit together, what it means to get actually your shit together. It's very basic stuff, like naming your track right, telling, look, maybe you should listen to this song from this part to this part, that would be the most appropriate for this brief, for example. And these are really basic stuff that you maybe don't think about in the first moment when you want to send your proposition, but the more you think about it, the best actually can get.
Yeah, it's the good thing about this. It always happens when we talk about Synch. We always talk about case studies and examples and experience that we've made. You brought a whole bunch of stuff that you've done in the Synch field. What is important for an information center is to be known, and that artists know that this could be the first place where to go for advice and for, like, if they want to do something in the Synch field, if they want to reach out to music supervisors, if they want to reach out to advertising, if they want to reach out to film, and they don't know how to do it themselves, you could open the doors. You could provide phone numbers. You could introduce people, and I think that's what you mean when you said that artists here. Every artist does it on themselves, but there's no general support for the structure in the music landscape.
I think that a good starting point for an artist or a band would be to work on their music the best they can. That's the first thing. Yeah. And that somehow it is often overlooked, because we talked earlier, there is a great new scene in Macedonia brewing at the moment, mostly indie rock bands who are great at what they do. They write good songs. The lyrics are on point, very current. The arrangements are not bad at all, but the production is awful. and they are rushing to release it. They record and release.
The artists are laughing in the audience.
Yeah,
you know what we're talking about.
If you don't polish your stuff to perfection,
yeah,
then you can't expect good results.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the example of Bambi Molesters, a Croatian band whose song was placed in Better Call Saul by Tomas Golubic.
Yeah.
And Tomas said that he couldn't care less where the song comes from.
Tomas Golubic, for the audience, is one of the leading American music supervisors for television shows.
Yeah, he supervised Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, 6 Feet Under, all those great shows. Another great example is Nora Felder.
Yeah.
We are working with her, and she is always looking for the right song. Yeah. But that song has to be well written, has to work for the project she's asking for. So the first point would be, my advice to the bands would be to work on their music very seriously, to take it not as a hobby, but they have to decide if they are hobbyists or if they are professionals.
Yeah. Then let's put let's say the music landscape, the audiovisual sector aside for a moment, because that's a field that we can talk about, but that we cannot change. It is what it is, and I think it needs a different way of addressing, like in the workshops, like there should be advertising people coming to the music conference. There should be film people coming here and getting to know the local landscape and introduce their requirements for sync and stuff like that. But for us, we can always talk about them and complain about them. As long as they are not in the room, it's futile. So let's maybe talk about a little more where this is going. The awareness of the artists, of the composers, of recording artists, of the sync field and the opportunities in the sync field. Quality is one thing that you mentioned. One of the sentences I always say on panels like this, apart from the get your shit together subject, which means a lot and it's always important, the whole thing starts and ends with rights. The moment you as artists, the moment you compose a song, the moment you write a song, the moment you write lyrics, you create rights. And if there's anything that belongs to you as an artist, no matter how rich, no matter how famous, no matter anything, this is what is yours. This is your capital. This could be your pension. At least it's your creative work, and to be aware that you have to treat these rights carefully and you have to administer those rights carefully. I think that's one of the most important aspects, and it cannot be over. It's probably the least sexy part of the business. Registration. Who needs registration? When we write a song in the studio with our band, and the drummer provided the bass player provided 2 or 3 lines to that. Is he a co-composer? Is he a co-lyricist? Or did he just happen to be in the room? Does his share to be registered and stuff like this? This is probably what you mean when you say to have this ready.
That's probably the second step, the second very important step. The first is to create the music, to create the copyright.
Yeah.
The second is to register it
Yeah.
with a proper organization. So you are secure that if the song gets placed, because when a song gets placed, it's not just the upfront fee. The upfront fee is one thing, you get it once, but then the exploitation of the song, the airing of the commercial or the TV show, all the reruns, the airing of the TV show in different countries, they all generate back-end royalties for years.
Yeah.
So if the song is not registered properly, you are losing that money.
And since you mentioned the supervisors, even if there's no supervisors here in the country, but there's supervisors in other territories, supervisors have an open ear and they look for new music. Thomas Golowicz comes to conferences like this, and he would love to place local music. I would love to place local music in my TV shows, but if the music is not registered, if I cannot see who owns the rights, if I cannot see all the composers, if I'm not sure if there are samples in a song, I wouldn't touch it. It's too dangerous.
Or the famous 5% that are missing.
The last 5% of the, or what was the copyright of a hip hop song we did the other year, where it turns out that the remaining 2.5% that we were looking for was the guy who had delivered the pizza to the recording session, and because everyone was having a good time, let's put him on the copyright as well, and you couldn't find him. So that way you cannot license the song for something if 2.5% are missing. So get the 100% ready and then register with the society. You mentioned it earlier. I don't know how deep we want to go here. The local society doesn't really seem to be, in some people's eyes, the first choice for proper registration, question mark.
I've heard stories about it. I don't have a first-hand knowledge because as a music writer, as a composer, I'm registered with BMI.
So you're not registered with the local society, no. And you must have your reasons.
And that's enough.
Yeah. It's a shame, really. Like we had 2 societies on stage yesterday, and it's I think it was from the guy from the German Independent Association, reminding them of their obligation to work on behalf of their members and not on behalf of their own power plays and careers and stuff. You can, as an artist, if you're creative, if you're great, if you do anything, you rely on their proper work. And if they have other priorities, it's a problem, really. It makes people go abroad with their rights, or it activates people in the country to say, we have to do something about that. Let's organize ourselves, let's create an independent initiative or something like that. Because the more you said there's hundreds, if not thousands, of creative artists here and good artists. That's more than 1, that's more than 10, that's quite a few. And if they are able to make themselves heard with the society probably sees a point in that.
Yeah, but I think they are too easy to register with whomever, because they are not thinking too much ahead. They are usually at the beginning of their careers, and they heard that there are some rights that have to be covered, and they seek for the easiest path, and register with what is the easiest, and the easiest is the local. I'm not saying the local societies are bad, but they have to be better.
Let's assume for a moment that they are not bad. Let's say they do what they're supposed to do. So creating the rights, register the rights, and then promote what you have
promoted. Or if it is an artist or a band who is just at the beginning of their careers, probably the easiest, shortest path towards success in sync would be to find a good sync agent, because we know Thomas Golovic and Nora Feller, but an artist cannot approach them because they are too busy and they accept music only from valued and checked sources.
And trusted partners, that's right.
And they send their briefs to a handful of sync agencies who they have been working with for years.
Yeah.
So the best way for an artist or a band would be to find a sync agent, to sign a deal with them, and let them do their work and present their music in the best possible way, because that's what sync agents do.
That's what sync agents do. In a lot of European countries, you would usually at this point say there's the publisher who is in charge of that.
But this is the Balkans, especially in Macedonia.
That's not an excuse. But what does it mean? That means there are no publishers?
I haven't heard of a successful publisher here.
Okay.
I would be very glad to be corrected by someone. But that's why my own music is self-published. I never bothered to sign with a publisher, because if you sign with a proper PRO, some of the PROs like BMI, the US-based PRO organization, allows you to be a self-published author. So you have, they call it 200%. You have 100% of your artist share and 100% of your publisher share. So I, as an artist, or as a composer, I take control of my own writer and publisher share.
Yeah.
So everything is covered.
It sounds like it's let's say the administration is covered, and you rely on the society to collect 100% and to allocate 100%. If you look at a publisher's work in the background, a publisher not only takes a percentage or a share of the song, he controls the society in the first place. He controls the accounting that's coming in.
And promotes the stuff.
That's the next step, to control and to claim and to reclaim. Very, very often, even in the digital days, there's holes in the statements. You know about a TV commercial that you had. You know about a song in a TV series that you've seen, but you don't see it in your statement. So, as an artist, to go there and find your way through the whole people in the society and complain about that, it's not the nicest work to do. Your publisher usually should do this, should claim and should reclaim and should see that these statements are in order. That's the first job of them. But then they should be also your first promoters. They should give advice in the registration. They should speak with their partners in other countries, because music is international. You can concentrate your work on your own territory, but you want to go outside. You want to be seen in the world. You need a partner to consult you in that way. How to do things right, maybe hook you up with other people. That is what publishers should do. Like it's not management. It's let's say copyright guidance. In a way.
I agree, but a lot of that overlaps with what societies do, especially nowadays. They evolved a lot. They found new ways, and now it is very easy to reach out to your contact at the PRO and send them their softwares who follow everything, and to send them a list of usages of your music and say, in your statement, there are 3 that are missing.
I agree for the admin part.
They will correct it immediately.
Yeah, I agree for the administration part, but the creative part, the support in terms of promoting your work and taking it to the world, and also to be, apart from an information office, to be the first point of call for you as a composer. I think that's extremely valuable work where a publisher could really influence positively an artist's career. That's really important. If you don't have a sync agent in your territory, what can you do? How do you reach out?
Luckily, there is a sync agent in Macedonia. Yeah. Our company is a sync agency, in fact. But even if that doesn't limit the options, because everything is globalized. There are very capable sync agencies all around the world, and an artist from Macedonia could easily reach out to them and ask them if they are willing to represent their material. So it is a no-brainer.
If they can prove that they got their shit together
if they can prove they are serious, they have everything registered properly, that their music is good, and
Can I jump in? Is there a demand for a Macedonian music in the advertising community?
Very good question. Yeah.
I don't like to think about it in that way. I have always thought about sync as a global thing, as well as the music. I mean, if you're asking about world music, in a sense, then there is, but I'm trying to escape the cultural stereotypes because they're often misleadingly represented, like the last movie by Apple TV, Wolves. They have this misrepresentation of Croatians and Albanians who were line dancing together to a song that didn't have to do anything with Croatia nor Albania. So I'm trying to stay away from that, but really music supervisors or advertising people don't care where the music is for if it is the right choice for the project.
That's one thing, but I think you asked for a different reason because we found something.
For example, in Slovenia, right now we have a lot of young bands with popular music that's quite also like they want to target the young people of Slovenia, and that's why now they're picking like songs from young bands, and it's really popular to get a sync from a band that's really well known in the country.
Yeah, we had this workshop where on a music conference, a workshop where more participants came from the world of advertising than from the music side, and they stayed in the session for 5-6 hours, and they said, we're coming here because we are realizing that our clients, the brands, they want to use local music in their production. And local music in that case meaning local music in the local language, because it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds more like a testimonial in a small country where everybody knows everybody in a way. It's more a sign for authenticity, for like being real, for being close to the people, rather than using a David Bowie track for a local wine or something like that. That's what you mean.
And mobile operators, they do it all the time, like and because also they want to address the people at that age that listen that music, right? And
in that way, I agree. Bands and brands partnerships work perfectly, but in a market that is small like ours, those are just incidents, and we are trying to build a company that is working all the time. For example, we pitch for 5 projects every working day on an average, so we can't rely on a chance that we will place a song by a Macedonian band for a Macedonian product and be happy with it, and then sit for 2 years waiting for the next one.
5 songs a day, 5 pitches a day means international pitches.
Yes, 5 international pitches.
Yeah, it's not the demand from the local.
No, unfortunately.
Audiovisual side. Yeah.
I placed my first song in 1999, and in the 25 years since then, we had just one project, one placement in a Macedonian commercial, in a Macedonian project.
Wow.
So that says it all.
It sounds a bit frustrating to
It is
be
frustrating, and it really bothered me at first. And I started to take meetings with advertising agencies. And when I saw the ignorance, when I saw that they're always trying to cut corners to get the song for cheap or for free, I gave up, because why would I bother with a small market when we are doing some good things on international market? We have music placed in campaigns for Sony, for Samsung, with Dentsu in Japan, the biggest Japanese advertising company, with Grey in New York. So why should we bother?
Totally valid point. Would you say that this is the case like all over the place? It's not like an email problem. It's a problem of the musical landscape. What music do they use then? What music is used in advertising campaigns, in local film productions?
Well, usually their music is an afterthought in most occasions, and they solve it at the very last point, and they learned
when the money is spent, mostly.
When there is nothing left, and they learned there are libraries. So advertising types think they can pay a subscription to a library which costs some $200 or $300 per year, and use anything they want from there. The music is rubbish, but they thought they got a good deal. And when there is a serious project where they really try to impress the client and themselves, they leave it for the last moment, and then they're trying to find a solution, asking someone to take the fire out, which was the commercial I saw you, the one commercial we did here.
Okay. So it's only then when it's really necessary that they think about like spending a little bit of money.
They spent 2 weeks searching for the perfect song in their libraries. They were using tagging. It was a commercial for a baby care product. So they were using tags like baby, child, skincare, mother and child growing up. They didn't find anything suitable, or they didn't find anything good enough that would impress the client.
Yeah.
And then after 2 weeks spent, and after calling friends, relatives who know music, who have record collections, they reached out to us, and they got the solution in 1 hour.
Yeah.
So that says it all.
I think about the reason why I'm here this year is because I'm preparing to come back next year, and we want to do our workshop here at the PIN conference, and we want to invite people from the audiovisual side. And usually we like to go where it hurts, where it's most important, and where there's most frustration going on, or we see the challenges in there, and we want to try to get people from those industries who are in the deciding seat to make them aware of the music that exists in a country, the level of professionalism. Let's assume that this can be dealt with or is presentable also in a way, to come to a point where the advertising sector realizes that there is a creative music sector in the country as well, and that this music sector, that the music people, that they can be found, that there are music agents, sync agents, that there's self-contained professional artists, that it's a matter of reaching out and to make them aware of the possible advantages of using local music. We had this great workshop in your studios in Bucharest, where in connection with film, artists said, but how do we meet those people? Like where do we, how do we connect? How do we, where are they? If we can do it ourselves. And we created the new official term, the beer factor, where you have to, it doesn't help to complain, it doesn't help to moan, you have to find the people, and that's mostly in the places where they go to celebrate, at their conferences, get them to our conferences, and have a beer with them, and connect on eye level. That's the most important thing. They're probably in the same situation as we are, and they say, the only music that we can find is shitty music in libraries, because no one takes us by the hand to find good local music. We don't know any sync agents or publishers or something like that. Maybe sometimes it takes the right word at the right time, the invitation to learn and to get more knowledge about the other side, the other bubble, as you said. Like we are quite comfortable in our bubble here, and we must understand that they have their own bubbles and they have their own parties and their own conferences, and probably similar sessions like this, and talk about totally the same things without realizing that there's another side to that. We were fortunate enough to leave advertising for a moment, because of course music is very present in the advertising world, but we address film and television as well, and we had this great initiative, a diplomatic initiative from Zigic, where you got us to the Slovenian Film Festival this year for the first time, which was really great, and to reach out on that level.
Yeah, I was really surprised that the room was packed with film students mostly, and they were really, I think the topic is really hot in a way, like you said, everybody thinks they know what kind of music they want, but I think the real demand here is for quality music supervisors, right? Like I keep getting this impression that we would need some kind of a school for music supervisors. But getting back to film festival in Portorož, we were there for 2 days, and we had a great panel. Markus was leading it with one of the film directors, and I think that the biggest lesson for me was again that we have to start young, to educate and to professionalize, to start with students. And academies don't have that in their not agenda, but like schedules, curriculums. And like it usually happens when you study, then you meet the real world. When you get your diploma, you have to go on the market and survive, and then you start learning that there's a lot of skills that you didn't learn in the school, but you are self-initiative to learn them, or you just you stay where you are, right?
The most difficult part with this film conference was not to do it and to be there and to be on the panel. The most difficult part was to get there and to reach out in a diplomatic way, or like to make them aware that we didn't want to sell them anything, or they didn't want money for what we're doing, but we want to talk about music and want to contribute to the knowledge to what you're doing here on the conference. And they gave us the slot because they trusted, especially Zigic, with your work, and then to realize that you can fulfill the expectation and you can get the positive feedback from the people in the room and from the industry, and get this honored by the next invitation and do something there. This is what I mean when reaching out to other bubbles. Like it is quite a major step. We feel totally comfortable here, but walking into the opening reception of a film conference or of an advertising conference is something totally different. I was in Italy at their advertising conference, and you can believe me, I have experience with conferences, and you came to that conference, I was the only non-advertising person in the room, and I had the feeling that everyone was looking like, what is he doing here? Of course it was only in my head, but the most interesting thing, I was on the agenda, I was on a panel, I was introduced as a speaker and everything in English, of course, but they didn't care. They didn't address me in English. They didn't speak to me in English. They even switched the panel to an online panel because the Italians didn't want to go to a panel in English. They want to only have Italian panels. It's like, this is double arrogant. It's not just the advertising industry. It's also the language. Of course, we all agree that English is the common language, but coming here, going to Greece for a conference or to other places, it takes some courage to speak with. We speak English all the time. You don't speak English most of the times. Some of you, I assume. So it can be difficult to be addressed in English. But this is part of this reaching out as an artist, to reach out and go to places and make yourselves known. Go to conference. If you are here in this room or at this conference, this is already one way of reaching out. Talking about reaching out, and you, are there any questions in the rooms? Because I'm afraid that someone will come in sooner or later and call time. Europe in Sync, yes?
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about this? Does it embody like what's the essential behind this?
It's, as I said, it's a European project, and it's the basic part of it is the workshops that we bring to music conferences, where we invite people like you, artists on a, let's say, on a at least basic professional level, and bring them together with experts from the audiovisual side. Sometimes it's a session about film, sometimes it's a session about advertising. We speak with the conference before, and then we really introduce both sides to each other in such a session, where we speak about what Emil says, the prejudices, that they are ignorant, that they never listen, that they think they know everything better. We talk about us thinking that they are arrogant. They say the music people are always drunk and they're never on time, and they always take ages to come back. And of course, when music wants 500 euros for a track, it's much too expensive, and you are millionaires anyway. Like all the silly stuff, but also in the end, when that is out of the way, when we talk about like what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, finding out where and how we could work together properly. What do they really need in terms of music? When you say libraries is better for them, does that mean you want shitty music? Does that mean you want cheap music? Does that mean you want convenience in finding music? There's many different sides to this question, to find it out and to sort it out, because they never reflect on that, and we very often never reflect on that as well. So basically, to come back to your question about Europe in Sync, we understand ourselves as catalysts between the two sides, between the bubbles. It's a European project. That means it's funded by Cultural Europe in Brussels. We have 4 years in which we do basically 16 conferences and 16 workshops. We have found out that we're doing much more, and because the demand is so big, and usually when we have done a workshop, we are invited back to continue on the results.
It's still ongoing, yes?
It's ongoing, and if I'm not mistaken, we are back here in Skopje at PIN next year to do this workshop, like to really, it takes a lot of preparation, because we have to reach out to people from advertising or to film or to games, to find the right experts who are willing to speak. And of course, it takes trust on the music side as well. You have to be prepared to spend 5 hours, 6 hours in a room with people you don't know. Maybe you know each other, but it's different when you sit in a room and speak in professional things with the catalyst from outside and someone from another bubble. So that can make a lot of difference. So ideally, it's not just ongoing. Ideally, we will be back next year and do this workshop here with hopefully a great outturn of local artists like you. And ideally, when we spoke earlier, I'd love to have people from your society, from the Collection Society in the room, because they are part of the music landscape if they want or not. So they have to listen to the members and they have to listen to the complaints. And I'm sure, on a positive note, that they can contribute something very constructive if they finally get their shit together. It's one part is what we have to do, another part is what they have to do. And you are their member. You are allowed to kick their asses. So excuse my French. I always get into that kind of language when we want to change something, we want to do something, and we sometimes it takes a little bit more than just friendly words to wake someone up.
Thank you very much.
No, he disappeared before asking the question. How much time have we left? I'd love to take the opportunity, because you brought some great case studies, Emil, of the work that you've done recently about syncs that have been done from here with the world, with well-known commercials.
We can see, because the title of the panel is Get Your Shit Together, let's see one that shows the importance of having your shit together. This is a commercial that has been done in less than 24 hours, from brief sent to everything confirmed. And the client was in Saudi Arabia. It was for Nike Football Saudi Arabia. The advertising agency was in London, as well as the music supervisor. The sync agent was in Los Angeles. The label was in North Macedonia, that was us. And the artist was in Florida. So when they sent, so different time zones, different parts of the world, so when they sent the brief, the supervisor reached to us and asked us, because we're known to react quickly, and they know we have everything sorted out, but we still, every time we pitch a song, when there is interest, we double check with the artist in case something happened in the meantime.
Yeah.
Like maybe the song was placed for a competing product in the last couple of months, and it would provide a conflict. So everyone double checked and returned back. So it was vice versa in less than 24 hours all around the world, and a great commercial happened. Nike, and it was for Nike.
The music placement was with no music.
Yeah, so we decided to go without music.
Revolutionary concept.
It's a new thing.
Shall we start again? It's a great case study, because getting a Nike campaign is really like one of the holy grails in music placements, I suppose.
And it probably something bad happened, because they were really rushing to have everything confirmed in 24 hours, and it doesn't really usually happen like that.
Yeah.
Because it's a big commercial, and probably they tried to place something that either didn't work, or maybe they
didn't have the rights.
Or something with the rights was not exactly clear.
It also shows that like you have to be ready for the moment. You cannot expect Nike to call you every time they have a commercial.
But you have to prove yourself time and time again.
Yeah.
So they come back when they have a big project.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's part of the process.
Yeah. Not every commercial, not every film is up there in a league like this. Not everything is like an Oscar film or an Emmy awarded TV series or a Golden Lion advertising campaign. There's so many things that happen every day which are I use the term sexy, which just happen. Like you have for every Nike, you have mayonnaise, you have baby diapers and stomach pills and something. There's also things going on in there. And all that stuff, all these commercials, all these films, maybe a documentary about refugees, maybe a documentary about kangaroos or whatnot, they all have films and they are all sync opportunities. And to be ready for those opportunities is what is the basic requirement to the music side, to have all this stuff ready when for that moment when a director calls or when a sync agent calls.
Yeah, but you know, you are working with all these music supervisors, directors, and if you help them in a smaller project, like you said, the bread and butter projects that happen every day, then they appreciate it. Maybe those small commercials don't pay much, but they prove yourself as a valuable partner to them. So when they have something better, they reach out to you. You are their first point of contact.
Yeah. For a final sentence, I like to come back because it's interesting what you said. Maybe they don't pay much, but let's come back. You touched on that a bit earlier. What can be the benefits for an artist, for a band, for a composer to have their music in a commercial, in a Nike, in a baby diaper? Or
that's a great point. It's not just the sync. I mean, the upfront fee is fine, and sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big. But then again, the great commercial or a great movie placement or a TV show catapults the band in 100 different ways. For example, all the big networks now have playlists of music they used in the show. So people are streaming the music from the show and discovering new artists. And then again, their Spotify numbers go up. Yeah. Also, their back-end royalties from the prolonged use of the TV show or film or whatever, they get monetary compensation, which is a secondary, like a passive income, like you have invested in stocks and they pay dividends all the time. Yeah. And the promotion of the band, it is a capital that you can use and probably use it to promote yourself for various other projects. Because when you say, I have a song in Better Call Saul, that puts you in a position that is a bit further ahead than the rest.
Even if you have a song in an unsexy commercial, it looks good in your portfolio. If you promote yourself for touring, if you promote yourself for other activities, you can say, my music was used in television or in a commercial.
And usually the Shazam numbers skyrocket too. I saw this commercial and the song used in this commercial make the Shazam numbers for the band skyrocket for this song.
Yeah. So that's another reason to really get that done.
We are way over 1 hour already. So
thank you for reminding us. We will be around, Emmy with his knowledge about local music, Mansa with some very encouraging information about how music and information and mentoring could happen. I'll be around as well for the rest of the day. Thank you for your interest in the subject. Thank you for being here and have a great PIN conference.